We have such an intrinsic and extrinsic ecosystem. But we know we have the most true identity system that helps people step forward and be able to see and multiply what deep in their hearts they've always wanted to do. So that said, when we go back to our soul, our mind voice and our heart voice, when the head voice is saying, this is what I need to be doing. So for example, parents working really, really hard, trying to get things moving, but their heart voice is saying, I love my family, but I'm really not happy with what I'm doing right now. It's not based on the career. It's based on the fact they're recognizing that their values are not aligned with who they truly are living out.
We're here and we're back on Pat Mesiti's best-selling author podcast with Karen Cutler, who's the creator of the Talent MasterKey. Karen is a transformational strategist, and she has turned chronic illness, family trauma, and career upheaval into a life of realigned purpose, confident reinvention, and financial independence. So whether you're stuck in a job that doesn't fit, if you perhaps wrestle with low confidence, or you just know you're meant for more, then Karen is here to help you find the truth about your hidden talents and how they can be your path to purpose, income, and deep fulfillment. So Karen, nice to see you. I'm excited to jump in and have a conversation.
Thank you, Robert. It's great to be here. You're looking great.
Thanks, and so are you. We both have some good lighting, right? The camera loves both of us. And so as far as what you're all about, what did I miss in that introduction? What currently has you super passionate, focused, excited?
Oh, we've just designed and releasing right now a world first. It's a very multifaceted, multi-layered identity defining system. And every report that is generated is actually completely different because everyone is so beautifully unique in their own way. So it's actually defined in different sections. We start with identifying your intrinsic values. Now, what's amazing about that is that there are over 460 values. Most people don't know their top 5, let alone in prioritized order. And then we have our inherent talents, the ones that we were born with, and quite often we naturally work from, but remain undiscovered because most people think that their values are loving their family. I'm talking about values before they had family, before they had friends. I'm then talking about how when those values are triggered, and that's what we live and die by, our passions and our real deep-seated desires when push comes to shove, how our inherent talents help to bring our values to life. That's how we are seen in what we're doing. And over 80% of CVs that I have seen actually show how their skills are actually learned experiences, but they're not their true inherent talents. And this is why after a while, when you tap into and identify exactly who you are, exactly how you tick, the incredible ecosystem in the way in which we've been designed, and it's all very practical, scientifically based. I'm not a scientist, but I have based this all on very good science and very good EQ and very good experience and incredible wise mentors around the world. We've been able to actually identify how to release genuine confidence. Because when you release the genuine confidence in the workplace and in the home, you start to live out exactly who you are meant to be. Therefore, when you live out of your values activated through your inherent talents, your life becomes so much easier. Success becomes easier. You identify naturally and deep down your core life purpose. And with all of that, it's undeniable when we see the reports that people are reading of themselves from Talent MasterKey. It's so exciting because it is undeniable truth of who they are. And it's giving them permission. They give themselves permission to live out of who they are And therefore, everything starts to multiply. Doors open, income streams start to multiply. It's incredible. I don't know how it hasn't been done before, but I'm just like everybody else. And I just wanted to bring this to the world.
Very nice. Well, it's exciting to think about this idea of the core life purpose and your inner self and what those real talents are, not just what they learned. And what did this come into? Is this what the Talent Master Key is?
Talent MasterKey is based on discovering who you really are in very practical, tangible ways. It is not airy, fairy fluff. I'm not a fluffer. I don't do flowery talk. We talk truth. And this is the beautiful thing about Talent MasterKey. It is your absolute truth. It is identifying who you really are in a beautiful, supportive way.
And what is the output? Like you mentioned earlier about this idea of these reports coming out, and there's like hundreds of values, and then you distill it down to a handful of your own values. So when you have a student go through your program, use your system, what do they achieve? What is the transformation?
The first section is a values ID kit. They come out knowing exactly what their top 20 value IDs are. And from that, then we start to look at their inherent talents. So that's another system within itself. Because, Robert, we're designed as an ecosystem. So I had to design our program multifaceted and multi-layered to go deeper every time in a beautiful, positive, and exciting way. People spend hours wanting to do more because, hey, everyone loves to talk about themselves, right?
Right. Of
So
course.
when they're actually exploring more of what, wow, I always knew that was true, but I just didn't know how to capture that. I didn't know how to release it. So these reports start to show undeniably who and how they do things. So when people start to identify how they do things, the values identify with their why, the talents identify their how. The genuine confidence that starts to derive is, okay, where is that expression best going to feel most purposeful for them, most fulfilling? And that's the key. A lot of people are having midlife crises. And, midlife crisis doesn't start, as scientists used to say, in their 40s, where life has become the most intense, the most expensive. The children are around 10 years old or so. They've started to get a mind and a voice for themselves as to what they want. Parents are working hard to keep up with extracurriculars, juggle work. They're starting to get that career elevation after 10 years or so in the workplace. How do they do it all? And after a while, they realize they can't. And this midlife crisis is not a midlife crisis. It's actually a beautiful awakening. There's a starting to realize that their internal values, their intrinsic values, are not aligned with their current life, especially at their work. And it becomes an awakening space. They're becoming aware of the need to transition. It's not a crisis, it's a transition space on how they are going to work this through. And the Talent Master Key helps them do that very easily.
Very beautiful. So it's not a midlife crisis, it's a midlife transition. And I'm curious
That's right.
to explore some of that with you, because sometimes when it's not working, so to speak, and you don't have this assessment that you're mentioning, and someone is not strategic, when they're just trying to make it work, right? Beating the hammer against the wall, you're told to sometimes work harder or get more training, but instead you believe that success comes from alignment and not more hustle. So can you explain that? Like, what is it like to change someone's thinking in that way?
Well, it's really interesting. There are two thoughts that we have. We have our soul is made up of our heart and our mind, right? So when we are listening with our head voice all the time, which has been trained to listen to what the world wants us to do, how to fit in. Robert, we were never designed to be fitted in. Even the word manage comes from the old French word ménage, which is where they used to bridle the horse through the mouth. It was silenced and it was steered. And our world currently says we must fit in, we must comply. But that's not the way in which we were designed. We were designed to create, we were designed to multiply. And when people say I'm not creative, that's rubbish. You can even choose which way you want to wiggle the toothpaste on your toothbrush at night, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has an element of creativity within them. Technicians, engineers, those who say they're not creative, they are. Accountants, old joke, there's creative accountants. There are ways in which creation is meant to be a part of us. We are meant to create, but even more so, we're meant to multiply the seed that is within us to see fruit in our lives. We are called to have a life of purpose. Most people are living unfulfilled. So when we have people come through our program, and of course I had to do it with myself, and it took nearly 30 years of working out what is the truth and practical elements of this that make this fast and streamlined. And of course, we have different layered programs and workshops tiered for what people are wanting. And out of all of this came, you asked a really good question. Out of all of this identification came, well, hang on, are we entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, best as the ability to put our capacities across different departments? What does this look like? Most people don't know. There are over 15 different types of entrepreneurs. We help you identify that. We help you identify all the different areas of confidence that you can have. And when you start to identify, I actually do a different level of confidence in this and a different level of confidence in that area. So, for example, some people have financial confidence. Some people have creative confidence. And there's a whole list we go through how to identify that. And then people start to come alive. You start to see they go, oh, yeah. And it's because they're identifying with who they really are. And they're giving themselves permission to be who they really are. And once they identify all the different, I would actually say we haven't been able to identify all the different facets and layers because we're so multi-layered. We are so deep. We have such an intrinsic and extrinsic ecosystem. But we know we have the most true identity system that helps people step forward and be able to see and multiply what deep in their hearts they've always wanted to do. So that said, when we go back to our soul, our mind voice and our heart voice, when the head voice is saying, this is what I need to be doing. So for example, parents working really, really hard, trying to get things moving, but their heart voice is saying, I love my family, but I'm really not happy with what I'm doing right now. It's not based on the career. It's based on the fact they're recognizing that their values are not aligned with who they truly are living out. And so they need to identify who they really are, align those values, and then everything falls into place. And it doesn't always have to be a complete career transition. Sometimes it's just a pivot of the way in which their values and their intrinsic talents are applied in the workplace. It's really, really amazing how people are being released.
And you make it sound less scary, right? Because taking a test of any kind is frightening, right? Oh no, how's my cholesterol? Will I pass or fail that cancer thing? Or if I take that career or that aptitude test, like I'm worried about being locked in. But I like what you're saying here of like, there's all these combinations of these different values you have. And whenever you look at the way the math works out, right? Like the possible number of possibilities, permutations is like a crazy high number, but it's still good for you to get a rough idea of like, okay, here's more or less my configuration, and I can choose to fill in the gaps with my own intuition and my thinking, but at least I have somewhat of a plan. And I really like how you make it easy on us because you say, it doesn't mean that your whole life up until now has been a lie. You can gently pivot and you can kind of throw out a little bit of what's not working and focus more on these talents and values. And so pursuing this idea we have of pivoting, do you have a good story there? Do you have someone that took your assessment and said, I'm close, but I could better apply this, and that they pivoted and things came out a lot better?
Oh, absolutely. I met a beautiful, well, actually, there's been a lot. But one particular lady that comes to mind, she was struggling very much. In fact, I actually wrote about her in the book and in the chapter, and I refer to her in my other books that are coming out. And her life had been one of love and service to her family. And, as a lot of good parents are, and it's not, I just don't talk about parents, by the way. It's young people coming through college, etc. And you're serving and you're caring so much for others, and after a while you lose your identity. And it's because the value system of loving and nurturing and sacrificing for your child or your loved ones, it becomes so overwhelming that your own personal values, the intrinsic values, get lost. And over a period of time, this darling lady, I'm so happy for her for what's happened. She identified that she needed to know what her true values were because she didn't know what her values were. And when we started to unpack what was really valuable to her, and then started to uncover really what her inherent talents were. And this was really important because she had 3 spinal surgeries and was starting to feel less than, unable, always in pain, always emotionally distraught after a terrible divorce and terrible abusive marriage, that she didn't know who the heck she was anymore. And just gently, kindly, softly, supportively, but gently leading, and sometimes she would fall into her normal negative default. We started to show her how incredibly unique she was, and that she wasn't meant to fit in. She wasn't meant to comply. She was meant to lead from the beautiful design that she is intrinsically. And so what happened was, very practically speaking, she started to execute the different methodologies we had. And that sounds all very complex, a methodology, and that's a world word, but she started to give herself permission on who she could really be. And then things have started to open up for her. And now she's planning on how she's going to continue and develop her property development program. And it's really exciting because she's actually naturally gifted in interior design. She hasn't gone to an interior design school. However, she started her life as a hairdresser. She is incredibly creative. She knows how to see a vision, interpret, and bring it into being. And so with that inherent talent, we then moved it across into where she needed to apply that inherent talent and start to develop chunks of big income for herself, doing what she naturally is good at, what she loves, and is making great money out of it. So, I mean, that's just one of many. I'm also a product of it as well. I want to say thank you to Pat Mesiti, doing his programs. I've known him for many, many years from a distance. I first met him when I was like 19, and I'm not 21 anymore. But, he was incredible. He's always been the positive motivator, but he talks from a space of truth. And I resonate with truth. That is one of my top 5 key values, is truth. And so I suppose Talent MasterKey, it's based on your truth.
Well, very exciting. And we could all use more of this self-examination and this truth, and of turning bad into a good, right? You have an injury, you have a setback, we all do with them. And it's good to say, okay, how can I make the best out of this situation? I can't change the past. It's time to focus on the future. And especially a few minutes ago, you were kind of illustrating that idea of that life path, that when you're young, life is easy in many ways, right? When you're older, then you've saved it for retirement, you're winding down. But then in that middle space is where you get to peak everything, right? Peak stress, peak responsibilities, peak frustration. And it can definitely be a trying, testing time when someone says, I've made it this far, but I need some additional help. It's so like what got me here won't get me there. It's not working. And I need to run myself through this Talent MasterKey and figure some of this stuff out. And so
Mm.
we want to get in a few minutes to talk about some next steps, but I want to also make sure to mention that you talked about Pat Mesiti, and you're a co-author with Mr. Pat in a book called Reinvented You on Amazon, and you can find that at reinventedyoubook.com. So just to do a little plug there. But anyway, as we're getting closer to the end of our conversation, if someone says, all right, a lot of what Karen said, I can really relate to that and connect with that, right? She's reading a
Mm.
page out of my diary. I'm burnt out. I'm stuck. I'm questioning my path. So as far as like a next step or a homework assignment, like what should someone be thinking or doing as far as getting their life back on track?
Well, I would have to say definitely consider undertaking Talent MasterKey. We actually have different tiered programs so that it is relatable and affordable for different people according to their space in life. We can help you pivot. It's most important that people stop wasting their only one life. And this is something that's very dear to me. We only have one life. Let's try to get it right now. Let's model real love, real purpose. Release who you really are. Give yourself permission to be who you are. And then by doing that, yes, it's an old saying, but then you give permission for everyone else in their world to shine as well. We can develop a world which is full and releasing more love, more miracles, if you like, more release, more opportunities, more income, more ease of life. You know, people are hitting midlife crises and traumas and carrying depressions and anxieties they don't need to have because they're not living aligned with who they really are. And all we do is just pivot it a little bit. And it's so easy and it's so exciting. It's like going to a restaurant and you look at the menu, you go to your favorite restaurant and you open up the menu and you go, what do I feel like eating today? What do I feel like? You know, when you go through that menu and you go, I wonder what I feel like today. I wonder
Yeah.
what is going to give me nutrition. I wonder what is going to inspire my taste buds. You know, what's going to mix with what. This is what we do in Talent MasterKey. We work out what feels right, what looks right, what actually practically works. So yeah, I would say give yourself permission. Don't hold back. Life is too short. People die of accidents and disease and God knows what else at the moment. And people are taking on responsibilities and pains in their life they actually were never meant to take on. So start thinking about how you want to streamline your life so you can live simply and easily. And we can help you do that.
I like it. What can be streamlined? And I'm very much a fan of that unexpectedness feeling of you sit down, you open up the menu, and right before you open it, you think, I have a pretty good idea of what I'm hungry for. And you look at it and something just jumps out at you. And it's not that the menu told you what to do, but you combine like the first impression with what you came across along the way. And you say, hey, oh my gosh, it came together. And that's
Mm-hmm.
some new third option that I hadn't even considered. And if I'd opened up the menu having no idea, that's one thing. And if I'd been dead set on my initial decision, that's another. But it's just the blend of all those things. And you've mentioned a few times this keyword creative and creativity. And it's just a great thing to think about because when we create, it serves and it helps others, right? We set a good example. We do a good job. We provide a service. That interior decorator, she beautifies someone's home and that will give someone good feelings for 20, 30 years or more. Even the next people that own the home in a generation, some of the painting on the walls or something still might be there. So you do something one time and it uplifts, it helps other people that you maybe even never met, right? That ripple effect. And so since you mentioned this idea that we only get one life, well, you and I only get this one podcast. And if I'm not careful, then we'll finish the podcast and I'll sit up at midnight tonight and I'll say, oh my gosh, there's a question I forgot to ask Karen and it's going to bother me forever. So hopefully you can help me out here. In order to avoid me waking up in the middle of the night, is there a missing hidden question in our conversation that you think I should be asking you? I just don't know to ask you.
Mm. What are you called for?
What are you called for?
Yes. What were you born for? What were you called to do? What is your real life's purpose? Because in that, with the multi-layers of deep fulfillment, will come peace and contentment and confidence and strength and the ability to feel that incredible joy of thriving. We don't give ourselves permission to walk into an unknown space, and yet that space has been designed to be discovered. And it's a beautiful space. It's a safe space.
And what are you working on as far as your calling? You've built the Talent Master Key, but there's always more to do, right? There's always something new to strive for. So is there anything exciting that's coming up for you very soon?
Yes, well, we're releasing a whole new level of Talent MasterKey through the different programs. I've got a range of books coming out. We're trademarking quite a few of our different concepts because they are world firsts. And I find this incredible, actually, because there's lots of wonderful scientists out there. But maybe no, I'm definitely not a scientist because that needs a lot of years of intense one-line study, and that's not the way in which I'm designed. But I would have to say that I have the ability for ideas generation. I love innovation. We have a lot of inventions and inventors we want to work with their designs and patents. We have a lot of work. I work closely with David Kavanagh, for example. Oh, he's wonderful. He's also extremely creative and intelligent. And we have the ability to create huge amounts of digital products that actually work. I've got a system right now that we're working on and will be multiplied on how to help people who have been seriously injured. Personal experience, but there's no support systems out there for people who have been personally injured in a very, very, very helpful, practical way. And I'm not going to reveal that yet because it's going to have to be trademarked as well. It's really good. There's nothing like it on the market. And I think that, one of my mantras has always been the answer is in the gaps. And I think I'm a bridge builder. I'm a bridge builder for people within their own systems, their own personal ecosystems, helping them to identify who they are and their life's purpose and to live that beautifully while they have their one life. I have the ability to be able to see and have insight into what people actually do really practically and easily applicably need to make their lives easier, to make it streamlined. It doesn't have to be complicated. So, yes, I think I love designing and inventing for people to help make their lives easier for release. And I love that feeling that I see in people when they have that joy. They finally realize who they are and how they can do them the best way. I love it. It's exciting.
I can tell you're
So it's all
excited.
coming
I'm
out.
excited hearing about it.
It's all coming out. And I apologize. It's not that well articulated because there is just so much coming out that we're having to streamline. And my team, I've got a great team. It's taken a while to develop a good team, and they're working with me on how to bring this to the world.
So if someone is watching or listening to this and they say, this sounds amazing, what she's created, the life she's changed, the help she's provided to others, and someone is maybe experiencing some of that imposter syndrome, they say, oh, maybe that helped others, but not me. How does someone know if they're ready for you and if it can help them? And if they are, where should they go?
If they can't identify their top 5 values and in order, then they need to come to talentmasterkey.com. If they are feeling that they're not feeling a sense of deep fulfillment or contentment at work, they're getting frustrated, they need to come and speak with me. If they are feeling that life is hopeless right now, they know they're fighting depression and anxiety, they need to come and talk with me. If they've been on a repeated cycle of bad experiences in their life, they need to come and talk with us. So I'm hoping that Talent MasterKey is going to leave a legacy of having helped people work out their why and their how, and see people really come alive in their worlds to become joyful. It doesn't have to be difficult. The world's tried to make it difficult because they wanted to make a lot of money out of people through their pain. I'm saying it's not the way it should be, and it doesn't have to be that way. I speak truth. I'm pretty practical. I am, as I said, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychologist, but I've lived a lot of life that a lot of people haven't. And a lot of other people that I have learned from have lived a lot of life that I haven't. And so I'm just trying to bring everyone's gold together. Because when we activate our values, we then are able to see and feel our real sense of worth. And that's what I want people to know, that they have value, that they are worthy, that love never fails, and they can start by loving themselves by taking one simple step. And that is working out very easily who they are and how they can express who they are by being truly them, by giving themselves permission. So yeah, I would have to say, give yourself permission. Get curious about who you are. You don't know everything that you are carrying. You're incredible. So let's release that.
Take that inventory. We've all been there. You find some extra change in the couch cushions. You find something you thought you forgot about forever in a kitchen drawer. And the same can be metaphorically true, can't it? You say, I have these talents and that lead to these values, and I can improve my confidence and find my self-worth and be happier and give my life better meaning, and in the process help others. It's a beautiful concept. It's a wonderful idea. And if someone says, okay, I want to get on the Karen Cutler train, and I want to discover what my talent master key might be, figure out those values and help others, is talentmasterkey.com the place to go?
Yes, talentmasterkey.com. We have a landing page there where you can register your interest. Feel free to ask some questions, and we're definitely there for you.
All right, so we're there for you at talentmasterkey.com. Go there and figure it out. Find the truth about those hidden talents. Get to your path to purpose. And as far as some finality to our conversation here, Karen, it's time for the scary part of the podcast where I try to make you go completely blank by asking for a fun quote or lesson that has served you. So what do you have for a fun quote or lesson?
One that has always served me is from the good book, and that is Love Never Fails. But the one I want to share with everyone today is, good question. That's a good blank, Robert.
Thank you.
The one I want to share is, just take that first step. Give yourself permission. You were not meant to fit in. You were meant to live out of who you really are.
Very nice.
Create, multiply. Just do it.
Create, multiply, just do it. We have a 3-step to-do list. And the very first thing we should do on that journey is go to talentmasterkey.com. We've been speaking with Miss Karen Cutler, co-author with Pat Mesiti and David Kavanaugh, Reinvented You. Go and fill out that assessment. Get clear on your values. Talentmasterkey.com. You'll love it. And thank you, Miss Karen, for showing up, stopping by, helping us out. I really appreciate you doing so.
Thank you, Robert. I think you're amazing in everything that you've done. Congratulations in your world. You're reflecting who you really are.
Well, thank you. The feeling is mutual.